the soapies in India, so they go in serials. So you heard the first part and just waiting for the second part now. Yeah, so David went to Africa, and I just want to recap. David went to Africa, John went to Canada, and they lived out their dreams. And so when John passed away, they asked him, just before he passed away, they asked him, what should we write on your tombstone? And he said, here lies the body of John, the brother of David Livingstone. And that means a lot to us in terms of paradigm shift. It is David who lived a better life than John. And that is what I'm going to address today in my speech. Common goodness. Good morning. Sorry, it's good afternoon already. We're supposed to have started at 11:30, but anyway, that's a paradigm shift also. Good afternoon. Namaskar, Vanakkam, Namaste. Distinguished colleagues, I feel humbled that I'm given the opportunity to present the keynote address, and I trust that I meet your expectations, and you will get to understand my thinking better as I progress through the speech. On each occasion I set foot in our motherland, I can feel the warmth and the joy and the freedom of this umbilical connection. When our actions do not speak louder than words, an umbilical connection creates the paradigm shift. That is the umbilical connection that we need to get back to. Much of what I'm going to say, you've already heard, is in parables. So you are going to become the owner of my speech. I'm not going to tell you what you need to take home. Sorry. Would we be able to reach?
Just forward it. There.
Okay. So you are going to listen, you're going to process, and you're going to act out common goodness. And this is the paradigm shift that I'm going to talk to you about. Paradigm shift commences with our thought processes that allow our action to shine out. Thought process is a function of education. What type of education will create a paradigm shift? At the outset, the organizers must be congratulated for this platform to address stabilizing growth through paradigm shifts in all its manifestation. It is always the intention of the organizers of the conference of this nature that we should be moved when we find ourselves abdicating our responsibilities as change agents. I want to repeat that. Whenever we abdicate our responsibilities as change agents, we are committing a crime. We are all in the pursuit of change. I will approach my talk in two phases. I'll present to you a philosophical framework of the term paradigm shift, and thereafter I will proceed to understand the human conduct that moves boundaries of education and to accommodate productivity for the common good. And you could see the productivity that I talk about is not in terms of input and output in economic terms, but in social terms. How different is a paradigm shift today than the ones of the past? Those of you who have read Dickens' book, you would know we can say that today is the best of times, it is the worst of times, it is the age of wisdom, it is the age of foolishness, it is the epoch of belief, it is the epoch of incredulity, it is the season of light, it is the season of darkness. It is the spring of hope, it is the winter of despair. We have everything before us, we have nothing before us. We are all going direct to heaven, we are all going direct the other way. In short, our yesterdays were so unlike our todays. Charles Dickens. Just adapted a little bit. Today you are called upon to be the producers of paradigm shifts and not consumers. Education ought to produce transformational agents, and Dr. Chitpa mentioned that transformational already. Should be a transformational agent of paradigm shift. Education should produce thought leaders. What are the various broad categories of paradigm shifts for growth? Right. So this is just a philosophical foundation of what paradigm shift is. Transactional, transformational, relational, integrative, cognitive, structural, social, environmental, and technological. Those are the shifts that are taking place in society today. I want you to reflect on the pandemic and the response of governments. Why was there need for a paradigm shift? Sit down and think about that. Were the paradigm shifts necessary? Who were the beneficiaries of the paradigm shifts? What are the social and economic costs and benefits of paradigm shifts? Some governments went into lockdown, and some governments went into what we call herd immunity, where they allowed people to acquire the virus and build immunity, and some countries did nothing. We need to identify, if there's going to be a paradigm shift, what are the lessons that we could have learned from that government reaction to the pandemic? The data is very interesting. I leave it to you to judge whether the conduct of governments and individuals in accepting the paradigm shift was responsible for more deaths than the pandemic itself. Sometimes our actions or our inactions kill people. The phrase paradigm shift connotes sudden, complete, and radical change in the fundamental attributes of natural and human systems and in the state of things. This could include day-to-day activities to longer-term sustained engagements. Paradigm shift must be underlined by an intellectually moral framework and sustained effort. I would like to repeat that. Paradigm shift must be underlined by an intellectually moral framework and sustained effort. We cannot be seated here today and not be moved by the term or the phrase paradigm shift. It is like going to a doctor and he sees a high cholesterol and sugar reading. He immediately tells you change in lifestyle. And that is a paradigm shift too. When we are introduced to new and better ideas, we are expected to change. If you are not going to be the agent, then at least you should not destroy the value that that paradigm is going to create, as long as the value is for common good. This is what renders us worthy of life and meaningful living beyond dead habits. Rabindranath Tagore reminds us that the clear stream of reason should not lose its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. That's a beautiful onomatopoeia, and those who are English students probably would know more about that. During the pandemic, countries enforced draconian measures that are now proven to be unnecessary. In philosophy, paradigm shifts happen when people die and are replaced by those who are more receptive to new ideas, as the ideas are for common good. But let us not forget that we all are dead by 25 and we are waiting to be buried at 75 or 100. And that is one of the philosophies that we can carry with us today. So, being educated is not as important as the expected conduct of an educated person serving the purpose beyond yourself. Being educated, there are certain expectations And that expectations need to go beyond yourself. And that is a paradigm shift. There are expectations that are placed on an educated lot. Our education should allow us to bring clarity of thought, process to resolve situations of conflict. Rarely do we use the sword or we use words. And both contain the same letters of the alphabet and both are piercing. But there is a difference. The title of my paper is Global Paradigm Shift, Moving the Boundaries of Education from Economic Growth to Productivity for the Common Good. The paper ticks all the boxes as an academic paper. However, much of the words I use in the paper will be lost in translation. As much as I'm saying it today, it will be lost in translation. Education allows us to read the words in the spirit in which they are written. The three brothers, and you know the musicians that were here would identify with this, the three brothers, Morris, Robin, and Barry Gibbs, remind us this world has lost its glory. Let's start a brand new story. Tagore reminds us that the words should come out from the depth of truth. The Mahatma challenged us to write out our story of our experiment with truth. This conference provides you that opportunity. And conferences of this nature allows you to search for the truth and present it to a distinguished group of people that can go and make a difference in society, and that's a paradigm shift. It is difficult to preach the gospel of paradigm shift in a country that has provided the world shifts in paradigm beyond measure. India is phenomenal, and don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Economic measures are provided to define productivity. And these are the economic measures: human capital, work environment, technology. But what about integrity? What about character? What about honesty? What about truth? What about altruism in everyday conduct? What about corruption? Right? So these ideas need to be embodied into a growth model, and that is not existent at this point in time. India is in the forefront of paradigm shifts: economics, democracy, education, art, culture, sport. Just yesterday they beat South Africa. Agriculture, technology, and India lies 14 in the world list of most powerful countries, ranked on the basis of economics, political influence, strong international alliances, and strong military. In my records, India ranks top 3. So what we need to do is to find a new measure of that defines what power is, where India is ranked much higher than Saudi Arabia, which is ranked number 9, and the UAE, that is ranked number 10. And I've worked in both places, and I know you are phenomenal. Google Scholar presents numerous articles that espouse India as a blessed country. And go and Google it, the blessed country, and you will see that. It is enriched us with golden treasures from diverse cultures, expressions, and associate knowledge on various subjects. When one would ask, what is the single most important strength of India? One would say, its population, the human resources of this country, the productivity and the work ethic, the youth of this country. When one would ask, what is the single most important weakness in India? One would say its population, the people of this country, the youth. So you need a challenge now to take up this challenge and go ahead and make a paradigm shift. When population is considered a strength, the population is a resource, human resource, productive human resource. When a population is considered a weakness, the population is merely a group of people negating the advancement of common good. Sorry about that. I just got. Right, yeah. In Sanskrit, you know more about this than I do. So my knowledge comes from artificial intelligence, so I'm taking that on. In Sanskrit, the term dharma is righteousness and related to virtuous things. It relates to divine duty of human being to share love, empathy, and compassion. And these are not in growth models. The opposite of good faith is bad faith. The opposite of dharma is adharma. On a deeper level, dharma refers to one's conduct and action that is in accordance with the divine law and our inner truth. Our dharma is an amalgamation of our social circumstances, the behavior that is expected of us, and our real life purpose. Whilst dharma preserves society and life in general and is done with altruistic intention of benefit to others, adharma usually causes damage, pain, and suffering, and originates from selfish motives. You are more familiar, and I saw this on one of the boards, so I thought I will just include this. In instilling good faith practice, the Mahatma provided us with 7 deadly sins. Wealth without work, and there is a paradigm shift to work tirelessly to ensure that wealth without work becomes an entitlement. Every one of us wants to get our wealth without work, and we want to be entitled to that. And the world is moving towards that very soon, and that needs to be changed. Some have the courage to say that they give off 110% of their time in an attempt to demand maximum wealth. How different is 110% of one's time to 50% of another's time? The inability to control our ego and our temper can only increase the work of others beyond what work really entails. Our anger, our ego, provides work for other people. Pleasure without conscience. There's a beautiful word called Schadenfreude, which means that individuals find extreme pleasure in the downfall of others. Yes, that is true. I'll just go. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah. Pleasure without conscience, Schadenfreude, SCH. I'll show you that a little later. It's here. Okay, so when we find, and in companies, when companies fall, others delight because of their failure. So that is a Schadenfreude behavior. So marketing students will be able to do this in marketing quite easily. Knowledge without character, commerce without morality, science without humanity, and religion without self-sacrifice. Religion without self-sacrifice. Politics without principles. My paper, Paradigm Shift, Moving the Boundaries of Education from Economic Growth to Productivity for Common Good, typifies a scholarly literary work defined as Romanticism of the 21st century. It focuses on the individual's respect for nature and the primitive and the celebration of the common man. Romanticism is a paradigm shift that paved the way for revolutions in France and the United States that ushered in experiments in democracy. Who are the illiterate of the future? The illiterate of the future is not the one that cannot read, write, and arithmetize. The illiterate of the future is the one that cannot think, cannot learn, and cannot unlearn. Do we as professors put people into casualty when we exaggerate our education and abdicate the mission that education should serve? Do we as professors put people into casualty when we exaggerate our education and abdicate the mission that education should serve? The reward for investment in education is an investment by the educated in the service for the common good. Are we adequately educated to be the answer to the prayers of others? I want to repeat that for the benefit of those who did not hear it. Are we adequately educated to be the answer to the prayers of others? Are we educated adequately to read into the prayers of others? India has a proud heritage of education. The Indian education system has its own challenges, but these challenges had created numerous successes, and individuals have gone abroad and made success of their lives. The issues and challenges which need to be resolved so as to provide better and improved education to advance the future of the country. What are the factors that affect productivity for the common good? Right? So there's the word Schadenfreude, the theory of the leisure class. Now, this is a beautiful theory of the leisure class. Those of you who are in the economics class, perhaps you need to take this down and do Google it. It's a theory that talks about conspicuous consumption. A beautiful, beautiful reading by Veblen. Yes, absolutely. Okay. And then you have what we call the Dunning-Kruger effect, and that's another piece of work that you need to read, where people who are not of merit are put into positions where they would reduce the merits of other individuals. And that is also a factor that negates productivity and affects growth model. You are not putting the right person in the right place. And the last one is the Burma Rao effect. And this is a case study, and I will just read it and I will conclude shortly thereafter. The Burma Rao effect is similar to Schadenfreude effect, where one finds extreme pleasure at the downfall and misfortune of another. However, the Burma Rao effect goes further to include malice and vindictive conduct through inflicting psychological trauma and physical pain and suffering. The origin of Burma Rao effect comes from the callous conduct of government officials in the delivery of common good service. The effect could include, but not limited to, walking away from the service counter intentionally not to attend to waiting clients, perhaps as a result of prejudices or previous encounter with the clients. Being an undue inconvenience to clients by delaying service delivery or engagement. Engaging in malicious and vindictive fashion, manifesting incompetency, and failing to listen with the intention of not providing assistance. Since this is ubiquitous conduct, the supervisory leaders are in situation of the Dunning-Kruger effect and enjoying the theory of the leisure class, and they have lost control to condemn such conduct and tend to weigh down and hold promotion of talented people to have the Burma Raos as representative of a nation. May we shift so that our education advances humanity's progress to sustain real growth opportunities for the common good. Our living out for the common good must be our message. When we walk down the road, the message that we should be giving is the message of common goodness. To the directors of this conference, Dr. Pavitra and Dr. Shivachitapal, I wish you every success in your endeavors, and to each one of you, I wish you more love, more happiness, and a lifetime of service for the common good. Happy Christmas and a happy new year filled with peace.